everybody. Welcome to Fandom Entanglement. And we are doing our review today of Sliders Season 1, Episode 8, The King is Back. I'm Mike Bloxam, and I'm here with my co-host Damon Sugameli.
Hello, everybody.
And we are happy to welcome today Perry Bruns as our special guest star.
Thank you. I'm made mostly from aftermarket parts.
Perry has I'll say it, Perry has worked with my wife Amanda Anderson at the Murder Mystery Company. I don't know if you want to talk about that or if you want to talk about other stuff first or whatever, but tell us a little about yourself, Perry.
Well, thank you, Damon. I have been at the Murder Mystery Company for just short of 8 years.
Yeah.
The Murder Mystery Company is the largest unit of American Immersion Theater. And honestly, it predates American Immersion Theater by several years. They did sort of an alphabet thing back in 2019, I want to say, where they combined a bunch of different immersive theater concerns into that one company. Because at the same time as they were doing the new nameplate, they had also started the Superhero Experience, which I'm not in, the Princess Party Company, which I still think I'm qualified for, and the only other one that I have done, which is Famous for a Day, and one that I talk up every chance I get. If you've ever wanted to go somewhere and have an entourage following you around, paparazzi popping out of the bushes and reporters and a publicist and hangers-on and people begging for your autograph, Famous for a Day is the way to go. We can go anywhere. We can do almost anything legal. And we will make you a star. And you can be. We did a thing in downtown Tampa for a up and coming pop singer, where we basically were the crowd at her concert. A buddy of mine, Tom Bronson, and I were photographers. I believe Amada was on that gig.
Oh, really?
I don't recall 100% if she was there because like half the company turned out for it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it was literally half the troop in Florida. We were one of 23 troops around the country that do murder mystery and everything else. And we just, with Murder Mystery Company, we do comedy murder mystery. So it's not dark and we can do that, but we prefer to have stuff where you're making your friends laugh. We make you a suspect. You might have done it. Yep. One of the conceits of the show is you don't know if you've actually been the true criminal unless you solve the case right alongside everyone else. We've got currently 12 murder mysteries in the hopper and 1 heist mystery. Now you see it.
Oh, okay.
Because there are some times where people will call up a company called the Murder Mystery Company and they'll say, do you have anything that's not a murder? We have Now You See It, where you or some of your friends may have stolen the most expensive diamond in the history of the world.
Oh, okay.
And then you have to help the detective find it because it's clear the detective showed up in disguise, and it's clear that he or she is much, much better at disguise than they are at actual detecting. One other element of the show is that they're out of their depth. Some of us will come out and say, by the way, just so you know, this is my first human homicide, so I'm a little uncomfortable right now. The way I'll do it is I'll say, and if I solve this case with your help, I will have extended my streak to 1. And then from there, we kind of let the audience take over. We give them these suspects that are really easy to play fun. They're very broad. And they give the people, even if they have no experience at all in any kind of theater or improv, it gives them a lot to work with. And then we're there to help them out if they get a little confused, they get a little worried or nervous. We also kind of pre-select people based on how we read them. So if anybody we come up to anybody with a hat and a binder and they kind of go, we back away.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if they reach for it, we back away. We want the people right in the middle. We want the people that are like, I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can.
Yeah, I've seen Amada do that too. I see how she's interacting with everybody. Yeah. My mother-in-law was
really.
Oh yeah. My mother-in-law was one of the. She didn't realize that she did it at some point when we did the show.
I know. That's the best part. When everybody solves it, but the true killer, the true criminal, that's the best.
Yeah.
And Amada is marvelous at working with everybody that I've worked with. She and I do a great gangster show, our Death of a Gangster show.
Death of a Gangster. Yeah.
I play Don Dunn Jr. and she plays Brooks and Dunn.
Right, Brooks and Dunn. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have this great dynamic because pretty much as soon as I get out there, it's clear that I'm not as smart as I think I am. And she knows it, and she lets the audience know it very early on.
Yeah, yeah.
So then the audience has a clear idea of, the fact that she's going to be just, dunking on me the whole night.
Yeah.
And that it's carte blanche for them to do the same.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. I like I said, I've experienced at least one of those shows. I don't remember which one it was. If it was that one, I don't remember which show we did. But offhand, I'm blanking.
Well, there's a time we have a 50s show, an 80s show, a gangster show.
Yeah.
We have a new 90s show that just came out. It's called Good Riddance.
I think I heard. Yeah, I think I heard about that one.
And then my favorite show, which is Midnight at the Masquerade. It's a Billionaires Club masquerade.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The president gets offed, and you have to figure out which of these billionaires, who are all nice and trustworthy, could possibly have done this thing.
Well, that's great.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else that you've working on before we get started, or?
I've been getting more into voice acting. I'm working on getting some auditions right now. I also have an improv workshop that I'm going to be participating in tomorrow. I'm not conducting it, but I trade out with a couple of people at Tampa Bay Community Network at University Mall in Tampa.
Okay.
Tampa Bay Community Network used to be a public access station, but branched out when cable kind of went in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And but mostly I'm gearing up for new demos, and hopefully around the first of the year, there's a novelist I work with named Anna Rose who does a series of novels starring the devil. The first one, Lucy Rhoades to Hell, came out late last year. I was the narrator for that. And I'll be narrating Lucy Rhoades to Recovery and Rhoades to Redemption over the next 2 years. But she's got to finish them first. So
yeah.
I spent a lot of time trying not to bug her about it and just then gearing up to read her short stories. I also worked for Westerfield Productions doing voice acting and rotoscope filming, where they film you doing things and then animate over you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I've played everything from a monobike driver, the giant wheel bikes, to a biplane pilot, to a boot private trying to explain to a captain that his plane is right behind me and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of animated slapstick is what I call it.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So I guess Mike, since you're doing it, you want to do the rundown, and then we'll get into it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, our original air date was May 10th, 1995. And the synopsis is, it looks like the king is back when Rembrandt is mistaken for a long-deceased rock legend. But an old enemy would like to see the crying man disappear again, permanently. We have our regular main cast: Jerry O'Connell as Quinn, Sabrina Lloyd as Wade, Clavant Derricks as Rembrandt, and John Rhys-Davies as Arturo. And special guest stars, not special guest stars, just regular guest stars.
Yeah. We'll get to those.
Guest stars: Chuck McCann as Captain Jack Brim. And I'm just going to put a side note here. I had no idea that he had such an extensive voice acting career. I was looking at his credits, and he was on so many shows from my childhood, including numerous Disney Afternoon cartoons. And he was in one of my favorite 90s PC games ever, King's Quest 6.
Sierra Online.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I think Perry will have
Sierra.
some things. Yeah, I told Perry in the notes, like, you might have to give us some little background on him later on. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. We also have Clinton Derricks, there's a hint, Carol as alternate Rembrandt, and Tom Pickett as Maurice Fish, whom we've seen before. I just wanted to, briefly, but I like how they make the callbacks to characters. And I just wanted to point out someone who was a small role. Charmaine, later we'll maybe talk about the break into her house, played by Judith Maxey, was in 7 episodes of Battlestar Galactica, the reboot from the early 2000s. And I had to look up where I knew her from because I saw her and I was just, it was bugging me. Both times I watched it, I couldn't place her until I had looked up her credits. But
and for such a short scene, she was vibrant.
Yes.
Notwithstanding the shotgun. that she had trained on.
Exactly.
Yeah, she was incredible.
Yeah.
And now I've got to go back and watch Battlestar Galactica. Oh, darn.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but
It's good. It's dark.
Damon.
It's
Okay.
dark.
I know.
When we're
I
done
know.
sliders.
I know. I know.
Next on Fandom Entanglement.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
So this episode was brilliantly written by Tracy Tormé and directed by Vern Gillum. And according to earthprime.com, the worlds visited were Law and Order World, Crying Man World, and Ice Cream World.
Just a brief thing at the end.
I would have liked to have seen more of Ice Cream World.
Yes.
Okay, so Perry, you're our guest. So first impressions that you have.
Thanks a lot. My first impression, they make really good use of the cold open in this episode to keep viewers guessing. It came out of nowhere. And it's like, well, you've committed a capital crime. We're going to execute you. And the capital crime was...
spray painting a freeway?
Spray painting an overpass.
I know, yeah.
An overpass, right. Freeway overpass.
Or in
Highway
Florida,
overpass.
dating is what that's called. Courtship.
Yeah.
Peggy Sue, will you go out with me?
Yeah, I feel like this is quite possibly my favorite episode from this first season because there's just so many laugh out loud moments. Really great insight into Rembrandt's backstory, a lot of fun Easter eggs and stuff. Mike?
Yep, agreed. Yeah. This is one of my favorites now from season one. I remember bits and pieces from this episode in the original run, but I enjoyed every minute of this rewatch.
Yeah.
I should put an asterisk there. It's easily the most comedic episode of the first season, at least so far. I don't remember much about the finale, but it's well written and well acted. I'd say except for the cold open, that's the only drawback for me in this episode. And it's a satisfying plot line throughout.
I noticed that you said that in the notes. Yeah. You can start that off, Perry. You have like with the breakdown here with the plot.
Thanks. They didn't have a lot of time to set it up. They had to jump us into the premise and execute it in 2 minutes and I think like 20 seconds is the standard cold open for a 46-minute formula show in the 90s. Back before it went down to 42 minutes for more ads.
Right.
And,
and
again, they open with, you're going to die, the lead character. And it's very rare in the 90s for a network TV show. Even Fox, which was willing to take risks, didn't kill main characters, especially lead characters in season one episodes. Next Gen did it with a supporting cast member, Denise Crosby as Tasha Yar. But even that was like shocking. It was exceptionally rare.
Yeah.
And the internet wasn't as, prevalent outside of college and military in 1987 when it happened. So nobody knew what was happening behind the scenes with that. In this, the internet was starting to become a thing. And if they'd actually killed Quinn at that point, I think the rumor mill would have gone nuts. A lot of the bulletin boards and the AOL chat rooms and the CompuServe chat rooms for Sliders would have just gone nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember being on alt.tv.sliders. And the news groups way back when. Yeah.
Usenet, RIP. It's still sort of there, but not really.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I won't spoil it for you, Mike, since you said you actually don't remember the finale very much, but there's a little bit of that with like the little shocking way some stuff ends there. I'm like, really? We didn't know where the show, like if the show was coming back or what. Right. So, that's all I'll say.
Okay.
I will say that all four, Cleavon Derricks Carroll is still alive, isn't he?
Yeah.
I know the other three. As
far as I know. Yeah.
Yeah, the other three are.
Wait, what? Who's not alive? Who?
No, I think they're all
alive. Yeah, they're all alive. Yeah.
So they could have a reunion at any time.
They could. Yeah, we've talked about that. Like the way this show went was like I don't know how they could possibly continue this show in a way that would be satisfying unless they just actually rebooted the show. It's
given the finale, that's probably true. And I don't remember the finale that well myself, so I will probably unspoil it for myself later.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think I think this is probably I did find it interesting because it's so different than what we've had. So this I guess this is like, because it's not really connected to the main story. So this seems to be a Tracy Tormé signature, because Summer of Love was kind of like this too, where it just we started out something completely different, and even going into Act 1, and it's like we didn't actually get into the main story until then.
Yeah.
Right. I don't debate the format per se, but I could have done it without this specific cold open, that part of it, like not the whole thing, but it just seemed like for the first minute, Jerry O'Connell didn't even really want to act. His lawyer comes in and says, "Oh, I don't know how you're so calm," and he just looks bored. Like there's no expression, there's no anything from him until in the courtroom. But
I see it
anyway. Thankfully, the rest of the episode does not disappoint.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of see your point with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, I think time was an issue there. They had seconds for him to establish a mood. And I think he's a long take actor. I really do. Except when he's doing Lower Decks.
Yeah.
I've not seen Lower Decks either, so I know.
Oh,
I know. I gotta watch it.
It's good. It's good. It's fun. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's whole. Well, I'm so, like I said, I have so much new Trek I have just not caught up on, because there is too much to catch up on right now with everything.
Yeah. That's fair.
But Jerry O'Connell absolutely kills it as Commander Ransom.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which, even though it's a supporting role, every time he's on screen, it's a guaranteed laugh.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So we're only here for like this brief, like I said, for a few minutes. I found it interesting that it was like 9 of Quinn's peers found him guilty, not all 12.
Yeah, I think the point of the judge saying that was that it would be only 9 jurors on this world, as opposed to the standard 12 in our world. Which is
the thing we do here in this dimension.
Yeah.
Not that there are any other dimensions that we know of.
Yeah. Like they throw in these little, changes, differences.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that was it too. Yeah.
To differentiate. And speaking of the judge, it certainly looked like Lance Ito had walked in.
Yes.
Which was very fresh in people's heads, because the OJ trial had just, I think it was still on, actually, wasn't it?
It may have been.
I think so.
I don't think the verdict was announced
95?
until late 95, because I was in Hawaii at the time. I was stationed there.
Yeah, it might have.
Communication station.
I know they definitely reference it soon on Sliders. They reference it again soon with the whole OJ thing, and they're like, "What?" Again, you don't remember much, Mike, so I won't spoil it. But I'll just say too, like that just seemed, you could tell it's like the way he's looking when that thing opens, like like I don't know if that was just bad acting or what, or if it's supposed to be funny. I don't know.
It could be. It could also have been filmed wildly out of sequence, because a lot of times for production reasons, especially if you're only using a particular set, and that courtroom set was kind of bare.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It was a soundstage courtroom for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they may have only used it for a couple of scenes during the entire run of the shooting schedule for that season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I do like how both Arturo and Rembrandt get some punches in with the guards as they're about to slide.
Mm-hmm.
And then Quinn jumps in handcuffed. It's like, it's a good exit.
Yeah. And then I like that they didn't do this very much on the show, where they're pretty much landing in the exact same location that they left, which kind of makes sense, because they're literally sliding through space. It's like you'd think it would happen more often.
Yeah, I wondered too if this had happened. I don't think it's happened yet in this season, or if it happens again. It does make total sense. But mostly when we see them exiting the wormhole, it's on solid ground somewhere. But imagine if every time they did slide, they went to the same coordinates, I guess. Because the opening of Summer of Love, they're jumping off the skyscraper. And when they land, do I have the right episode? Anyway, when they're jumping off the skyscraper, they're you know, they don't end up 100 feet in the air.
Right.
Or at the end of Eggheads, they jumped off a roof again, and you know,
And they don't.
not that we see the exit from there, but
I know.
if they
It
fell
would shorten
from
the show significantly if there weren't safety interlocks built into the device.
yeah.
Yeah.
But another thing here, I don't know if this is a goof or a continuity error, but they enter the vortex in one order. So Wade goes in first, and then Quinn, Arturo, and Rembrandt. But somehow, when they land in Crying Man World, they're out of sequence. Wade is still first, but then you have Arturo, Rembrandt, and Quinn comes in last because Rembrandt kind of catches him. So I'm not sure if they can surpass each other in the wormhole, or if
I didn't notice
just
that.
the production.
Do they make a game of it? That's
maybe, yeah. Who can get there first?
I landed first.
I feel like that happens like all the time on Sliders. It's just like whatever. I don't think it's something they paid attention to.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
At some point, I think they stopped caring. Yeah.
I think as long as they land in the same outfits,
yes,
they're doing pretty well. Because again, they don't shoot in anything close to sequence.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as soon as they arrive, that's when everybody starts laughing. And,
yes.
Gentlemen, check
your flies.
Standards and practices never would have greenlit an episode where that might have been a problem. And they certainly wouldn't have greenlit an episode where it wasn't a problem. Why are you all wearing leg coverings?
Yeah.
That went out years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's another nitpick or goof, whatever you want to call it. Quinn checks his fly, but he's supposed to be handcuffed.
I didn't notice that either.
You can see his hands are free.
And they're behind his back?
Yeah, but then one of his arms comes out and he's not handcuffed.
Oh, it's the cartoon handcuffs. Where,
yeah.
Oh,
you can only do it when it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then in Act 1, right then we get the real premise. And Cleavant Derrick's, now is his name now Double Barrel? Because when the show aired, he was credited as Cleavant Derrick's. Now it's Cleavant Derrick's Carol, I guess.
The brother is Clinton Derrick's Carol.
Oh,
I'm not sure why the last name. I don't know. I did not look into that.
Okay, that's my continuity then. So Cleavant Derrick's face lights up when he realizes people love him here. He is so ready to accept that.
Yeah.
Then immediately, Arturo comes in.
Yeah. You're a popular hero, which means we can't possibly be on our Earth. Yeah.
Shots fired.
You got all those impersonators in town. That's why they think he's the greatest impersonator. And it's like, oh.
BTW standing right here, Arturo.
Yeah, I know. And there's
physics, not psychology.
Yeah. And this is, I guess a lot of people miss this apparently, but this is when they're walking across the street. That's the Abbey Road shot.
Yeah.
Where they're all walking across.
Yes, all they needed was a zebra crossing.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's where they enter the hotel, and I guess they're just checking out everything. So the Skipper's Island.
Oh,
the
yes.
TV.
I always love when TV can't clear a brand, so they do that near branding thing, that little parallel, and it works perfectly for a show about parallel Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have in my notes here, they have Skipper doing a line, and it sounds like Alan Hale if you listen initially, and then the more when I listened again, I was almost certain Chuck McCann, who has a guest shot in this episode, and does great impressions. I think he was doing Alan Hale Jr.
Oh, okay.
Because it's off screen. You can't see what's happening on Skipper's Island.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing the TV's POV of Quinn at that point.
Right.
Yeah. It could very well be. Yeah.
It
and
certainly
you hear the
sounds
inverted Gilligan's Island incidental music. It's clear they flipped the melody. And when I say I'm hoping it's Mark Mothersbaugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about that off camera, Damon.
Yeah, we're going to mention Mark Mothersbaugh.
Yeah.
Well, I think that tracks because it sounds like there's a role reversal on the show between Gilligan and the skipper, where they seem to all be putting the skipper down, and it seems like Gilligan is not the bumbling fool.
Right, yeah.
But somebody's got to do it. Why not the title character?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know all of this stuff kind of happens in a blur. They're finding out all this stuff, and so I didn't remember exactly when it happened, but there was that double take when Quinn got out of the shower, and because he hears Rembrandt, the whole Elvis thing with the surfboard.
Yeah, and it was right after the reporter interviewed Captain Jack downstairs or in Captain Jack's room, wherever that actually happened.
Okay.
And I have here that his reaction feels beautifully genuine. I think this may have been a scene where either they prepped him for it or they did not prep him. And I think they may have actually showed him the clip without telling him what it was going to be.
That's funny. Maybe.
Yeah. And then they just kept what he did.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's really having a laugh there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny.
And then everybody else is fully clothed in that scene when they come in, and he has not even toweled off, much less gotten dressed. So I think that was a little something for the fans. Because O'Connell, even to this day, not in bad shape.
Yeah.
Back then, oh my God, he just.
I've seen that going around with the slide. Is like every time Jerry O'Connell takes his shirt off, because it's like that's Quantum Leap too, and like every time Scott Bakula took a shirt off, like the women just went nuts.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So what else do you have here, Perry? The conspiracy theory thing. About
there's a conspiracy show, and they come up with this cockeyed theory that not only is it the real Rembrandt, but it's the real Jim Morrison. Quentin Mallory's Jim Morrison.
Yes.
Professor Arturo is
obviously
Luciano Pavarotti, which we're going to have we're going to dine out on that. But yeah, and the thing I have here, the question I have is, are they at this point watching an obscure late night or afternoon show, or are they just jumping forward to 2024?
Yeah.
Is this a mainstream show? Is this a popular show? It just happens to be on terrestrial television and not streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. They're just all cracking up laughing. Even I know you mentioned it later too, with one of the lines, but I love how Remy's like, they forgot to mention I could cry out of each eye individually. It's a talent.
Yeah, the two things I love most about that line are that Tracy Tormé or one of the other writers came up with it, and that Derek's bought it and he sold it.
Yeah.
He
100%.
did not flinch. This is clearly something Rembrandt has been able to do since childhood.
Yeah.
And he delivers that with authority and conviction.
Yeah. What did he even say in the conspiracy thing about it? It was like compared to like the Zapruder, the whole JFK thing, right? So that happened on this world too, apparently. Yeah.
Well, I think they wanted to avoid having to explain too many differences.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because I know we usually try to figure out that whole divergent point in the history, because there's like a few little things here and there, like the Skipper's Island thing, and later on the Michael Jackson bit.
And boy, what a great throwaway.
Yeah.
Yes. There's so many good throwaway lines in this episode.
It's basically just what Michael Jackson left Public Enemy and then returned. Public Enemy, like whatever, that come up. Yeah. But I feel like the main thing that cemented this was, I guess, Rembrandt didn't go with Captain Jack as his agent in his world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because he said, oh, maybe I made a mistake or something. And he's the one that brought him to this big, huge celebrity.
Yeah.
But that's where that whole scene in the lobby, because this is where we see Calhoun. It's about Gomez. Will Sasso's back. Or they call him William Sasso, but Will Sasso. And everybody's out there, and it's like, oh, I'm going to give my fans what they want. And it's like, Rembrandt, are you sure? And he goes out there, and then it's like, they literally they're like assaulting him, pulling him through the crowd. And Arturo's like, okay, I'm going to go rescue him. And then Rembrandt comes in, and he's like, oh, wait, what did I say here? Yeah, he's like, those people are animals, and they wanted a piece of it. I loved every minute of it. You see the sheer terror in his eyes, but he loved it at the same time.
Yeah. that mixed feelings.
I know, and then where's the professor? And it's just like he's being carried like it's a mosh pit or something.
It is a straight up crowd surf.
Like, put me down, you infidels.
Yes.
I must have been rolling on the floor laughing at this, and then it's like, Mr. Pavarotti.
Mr. Pavarotti. I am not Mr. Pavarotti. Mr. Pavarotti is an Italian. He speak like this. Do I speak like this? No. Why? Because I am an Englishman, you blistering idiot!
The hands of any other actor could have aged very poorly. And I had down here, I was going to critique the sudden escalation of Arturo's frustration, but then I'd forgotten when I first watched it back that the fans had stripped him down to his torn underwear at the time.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't torn before the fans got it. And then in that second watch back, I also spotted the very subtle lipstick.
Yeah. They both had
all
lipstick
over
kisses
the shirt.
on
Just
the
on one spot, all over.
Yeah.
So there's so much rising action. Then, of course, we get Chuck McCann as Colonel Tom. I mean, Captain Jack. And can I stop for a moment? Why is it every time we meet a character named Captain Jack in any TV or movie, they're always blisteringly untrustworthy, wildly untrustworthy? You can't. The only thing you can trust is they're going to be fun.
That's true.
Not. Yeah, it's just. And sure enough, Chuck McCann does not disappoint. He really just goes to town on this character.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like I had seen him in other things too, but I couldn't really place him. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to say here now, like what your, the background, Perry, I kind of looked him up a little beforehand, but you probably know better than me.
Well, I think most TV fans will know he's a fixture of particularly 70s through 90s TV programming. But he started, I believe he was born in 1938. He started in radio when he was 6.
Wow.
And he transitioned almost immediately from doing, kid characters to kid voice acting.
Okay.
Because he was just that good, where he would do voiceovers as a child in some cases, like continuity announcements. He'd cut in for people. And that bridged into a career where he was doing sound-alikes. If a big star wasn't available, they'd call him in and just, gloss over it, sign off on it. And then he got, in the 70s, he got the Croft stuff, most notably Far Out Space Nuts with Jim Nabors. Bob Denver.
Oh, okay.
Where
Bob Denver.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where he and the two of them were astronauts, or actually, no, they were maintenance people that accidentally launched a space rocket.
Okay.
And of course, Denver was the Gilligan, and Chuck McCann was kind of the skipper.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I said lunch, not launch. That was in the opener of every episode. It was in the opening montage. And so, then he did the whole circuit. He did Love Boat. He did what was the name of the guy that did all the game shows in the 70s? The Match Game and stuff like that. Goodson Todman.
Yeah. Okay.
Productions. And then Bill, the other guy with the little skinny mic besides Bob Barker, that basically only did game shows.
Right.
And Chuck McCann did that.
Yeah.
He was on several of the Disney afternoon cartoons, Gummy Bears, I think.
Oh, okay.
Gummy Bears, Darkwing Duck.
Okay.
He always played those jolly
DuckTales.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So just an absolute. And I believe he worked until relatively close to when he passed. He passed in 2018. He was he was 83, so he was actually born in 35. If I have that right. So right at the beginning of World War II, the U.S. involvement in World War II, he was already in radio, and he worked 60 years plus, close to 70.
Wow.
So Sliders was just a fun little stop for him.
Just a little footnote in his long career.
Because his resume is as long as your arm, but he does clearly seem to be having a great time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, what's the thing you're saying here about Captain Video? Because I missed that completely.
At one point he's saying goodbye to the camera crew behind the reporter, and he says, you were great, Captain Video. And Captain Video was the name of a future sci-fi type show, one of those shows where the the characters would do almost everything behind a big counter that doubled for their Starship Control space.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the host, the lead of that, Alan Hodge, then hosted a clip show for kids called Wonderama that Chuck McCann later took over.
Oh,
it does sound familiar, Wonderama.
And there were several guys who called themselves Captain Video as the host of that show. I don't know if it could just be a coincidence, but it could also be that Tracy Tormé has a very long memory.
The Wonderama thing does sound familiar. It's so long. That's like so long ago. I wouldn't remember all that. Yeah. Because
I looked it up. So.
because
I cheated.
Because speaking of so long ago, I know I've seen them on TV before, but I just, for the life of me, I cannot remember. When I first saw it, I remember who they were, but we had the special guest appearance by, what are their names? Edie Del Rubio, Elena Del Rubio, Millie Del Rubio as the Del Rubio sisters. They were a real thing. Captain Jack is it's like he's saying it. It's like he's trying to say it with a straight face. Like, these lovely women have left their families for this music career. Like, you almost see it in his eyes. Like, he's like, yeah, that's not happening.
No. I will say, it feels like the director said, act like you're making it up as you go along.
Yeah.
And to his credit, I think that's pretty much where he went with it.
Yeah.
Just a great line delivery.
Well, I was just going to say, I also was struggling to remember where I recognized them from, and it hit me later. They were REM in an episode of Full House. They were supposed to book REM, but they booked
maybe that might
Rita, Edith, and Mabel or something, which spells out REM.
So these three actors really have a history of
they were all over.
Yeah,
they made the rounds in the 90s. I looked them up. They were also on Married with Children.
Oh, so maybe that's it. I probably just
Golden
saw them around.
Girls.
I probably just saw them in a lot of stuff. Okay.
Night Court, Ellen, and Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Like, yeah, you've seen them. You've seen the three of them together many other places in the 90s. So
yeah, I think I did look that up beforehand. That one of the sisters, I think, died like a year after this episode or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like in real life. Yeah, something like that. And then like the other two, maybe like 10 years. I don't know. Like, none of them are alive now, but they were a real thing. I think they were doing "Whip It" by Devo.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be a real song that they've covered, because they're basically like a kind of like a parody. That's their shtick with what they were doing. It's like, I'm watching this thing, I'm like, this is so stupid. It's such a good stupid though. But maybe I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. Probably not. Mark Mothersbaugh is the front man of Devo, and I've been forgetting to mention that Mark Mothersbaugh basically is doing like I think except for the pilot and the season finale, he does the music for all of season 1, including the theme song.
Oh,
so, yeah. And was there anything else that? Well, there was something else specifically because isn't he Perry? Isn't he a character in one of the shows, the '80s show, in the murder mystery thing?
I think he might have been. I haven't watched that one back yet, and I think it's one of the ones I missed both in first run and repeats with my schedule at the time.
Oh, okay.
But I can tell you, that even though people think of him as a musician, they think of him as Devo, they think of him as one of the first rock video stars. He did co-found Devo with his brother and with Bob Casals, I think it was, or Gerald Casal, in Ohio. He is also he was also gifted the key to the city of Akron in the early 2000s because he is a favorite son of Akron, Ohio. And when Devo stopped recording full time and went to more of a relaxed kind of nostalgia touring thing, he started taking on a ton of other projects, including TV and film composition, animated composition. But he never stopped subverting the media. That was his whole gag with Devo, was they were making fun of mass media on mass media.
Right.
And you see it in all of his projects. He'll sneak stuff in. I think the inverted Gilligan's Island theme tune for Skipper's Island in this episode might have been him.
Yeah, probably.
And for McCann's part, he clearly gets the gag, but he does the whip it reference deadpan.
Yeah.
That part clearly, he's thinking in the back of his head, "Oh, these ladies are going to do whip it again. I'm just gonna accept it. I'm going to take my 15%. As far as they know, it's 15%. I'm going to move on."
Yeah.
I'm going to give them their 15%. But yeah, that the fact that that particular act, those actresses took from show to show in the 90s, it's almost like a Stand Elsewhere thing. Where everything's connected.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the what do you call it? The Tom Westfall universe.
Yeah.
Right.
The snow globe theory.
Yeah. We never, Mike, side note, we never brought that up in the Quantum Leap stuff. The character's name was Tom Westfall.
Yeah.
Which
I've never got
spelled
that.
the same way, but
Right.
I always forgot to bring it up. Nice little side note. Anyway.
Well, I mean, this is I will apologize immediately by saying that I know this isn't a Quantum Leap show, but they also didn't spell Sam Beckett's name the same way.
What?
In the last episode,
in the
they
last
dropped
episode.
the T from his last name.
Yeah.
Hey, totally sidebar. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, no. Yeah. So I guess this might be. I feel like this is probably where this would have been in the script, because there's a little bit of trivia here that I looked up according to EarthPrime.com that Tracy Tormé wanted to have a scene. I'm guessing it would have been here, where there was a small group of Mexican boys called Paquero.
Pequeño.
Okay. And the manager.
Well, it could be Pequeño. I'm not sure, but it looked like Pequeño the first time I saw it on the notes.
Yeah. I'm just going by exactly.
Okay.
I'm going by the website, so I pretty much like just put in what
so it could be Pequeño. I don't know what that means in Spanish. I'm retaking Spanish 1.
The manager wanted them to be singing Led Zeppelin songs in Spanish because it was supposed to be like a takeoff of Menudo, who was really popular in the 90s. But apparently they could not get the rights to any Led Zeppelin songs, so it was something that I guess Tracy Tormé had to cut. I would have paid good money to hear that.
I suspect they would have been very expensive to license.
Yeah.
I did look it up just now. Pequeño is a synonym for pequeño. In some dialects. It's closer to like a baby version of something rather than just small.
Yeah.
It's sort of a reduced size if this site can be believed. I don't know.
Yeah.
The first one that comes up in the most popular search engine in the world, that's not a guarantee anymore.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Well, leading into this, that's what we were saying about Wade here. Captain Jack basically says that they'll do like the big comeback thing for Rembrandt, and it will be like, is this where he says it's like they'll pay him $1 million a song? I guess. Yeah. This is where they say it. Yeah.
And that establishes something that happens later that I won't spoil.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Wade's line. So Perry, you got in your notes here.
Oh,
yeah.
Wade has a line at this point about the end of their money problems, which seems very weird considering what they're doing with their lives lately. And I can interpret that one of two ways. Either she's forgotten about the possibility that sliding makes money in one location very hard to use in another, either unusable completely because it's different, or they just can't get at it because they can't they can't voluntarily slide back to a specific location yet.
Right.
They don't have navigation. In fact, that's the whole point of the show.
Right.
So either I feel like Tracy Tormé may have looked at the script and realized that Sabrina Lloyd didn't have enough lines at that point, or they needed her as someone to pipe up and move the scene along, and she drew the short straw.
Maybe, yeah.
Because it does seem like a very odd line for any scene in this show.
That's a good point, yeah. Because we've definitely seen already, too, that like some money is not going to work.
Yeah.
Specifically, Rembrandt gets sent to the People's Court because he gives him a green dollar bill.
Yeah, and that's just not
Tommy World.
Yeah.
I didn't think I might have mentioned it when we did the thing with the women's world. Like, shouldn't the currency be different? Because if women were in charge, would there be men on the dollar bills on the currency?
Yeah, the Susan B. Anthony would be the default paper bill, not just the coin.
Probably, yeah. But it's a good point. Yeah. I mentioned the Michael Jackson thing already.
This is where it showed up it was middle of Act 2.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if he'd actually been in Public Enemy, Chuck D and the rest of the group would just, like, half the time been just staring at him agog like, this is what he's doing? And I would pay to see that.
Yeah.
Pay money to see everybody else just doing a take.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson doing Michael Jackson.
Yeah. So they're going.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say Rembrandt is going. Is that the same? Is it basically the same Cadillac? He's like, oh, look at this ride! Look at the ride!
It might be. I think it might be because cars are expensive.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if that's like because he was what is it, lamenting? I don't know what word to use. He's like, oh yeah, look at this, remember this, Quint? Or he's talking about like, yeah, remember the sweet ride, and that's when reminiscing, and that's when this is like the second half where things get suddenly very dark, and this yet still humorous but very dark with
mid-act 2 takes a turn.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom Pickett in this plays backup singer Little Richard. Maurice Fish. Because oh boy, does he channel it. I mean, it doesn't start out like that, but then he starts singing in the woo.
Yes.
Yeah. He was very over the top. Yeah.
I think that was the point, though. He sold that character completely.
You're saying Little Richard. I'm like, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah,
I couldn't place it. He's like, he's so over the top.
And then for him to take the direction he did, just makes it even more of a sharp contrast, a sharp turn.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know it had to be him we said it when we did the first review. That's like blink and miss in the end credits of the pilot. He is one of the backup singers in the Cry Like a Man music video. So
one of the tops.
I don't know when they shot that because they do these things and then they shoot. So later on maybe they did this when they knew they cast him or something. I guess because it was him, like literally blink and miss. And I know he does show up one more time. So
yeah, it's only happened to me a couple of times in my life, but the 4 sweetest words you can get from any producer or director after you do like a really small part is, "We'd like you back."
Yeah.
And I think they wanted him back.
Yeah.
He's clearly really doing a good job here.
Yeah. And then Rembrandt gets kidnapped, and then they have the whole thing on the news, and that's when you see the real Rembrandt shacked up in the cabin somewhere in the woods. And he does not look exactly like Rembrandt. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, to me, this looks like I'm reminded of Thor Ragnarok when Loki's putting on the stage production of the death, and it's Chris Hemsworth's less attractive brother playing the role of Thor. And it's like something looks off about this.
And I didn't put this in the notes, but the more I think about it, the more I think we could talk about, not too much because I'm not of the same ethnic background, obviously.
Yeah.
But the differences in black hair stand out in that episode because his brother comes on clearly not using the same hair care products, not the same hairstyle. And it's a good shorthand, especially when you figure a lot of people were watching that on maybe not the biggest television. Everything was 480i back then.
Yeah, that's true.
We're used to everything being in 4K, which is like 64 times the resolution.
Yeah.
So even when I'm watching it back on a computer screen that's 1440, it's a lot higher resolution than it originally appeared in.
Right.
And that just makes the resemblances and the differences more obvious.
Right.
So I think they did a good job of making the show future resistant when it came to African American hair. Which I'm doubly unqualified to discuss. Really.
Yeah. I think I do remember when I first saw this though. I noticed it. I was like, this is not. He's not like. Are they? I don't know if they're identical. If they're supposed to be identical twin brothers. I don't. They are
very close. Like it's so. I don't think close enough that they sell it here. But but yeah, every time the real Rembrandt from this world comes on, you can tell, but when they're side by side dressed in the same costume, it's really hard to separate them, except for they obviously have different hairstyle.
And they bring him back like I for a couple of episodes, and I think the next few times that they do that, they usually have Clavant playing both roles if they're not on screen at the same time. Because
maybe screen back is very hard.
Yeah.
Compositing. Remember, compositing was analog until the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So, and it was very expensive. The optics were just really pricey. I did look it up just now. Clinton Derricks Carroll, he got the name from his wife. He did take her name.
Oh, cool.
And made it a double-barreled name.
Yeah.
They are twins. It does not say that they are identical twins.
Oh.
They're clearly very close twins.
Probably fraternal twins, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree. They're probably fraternal.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he has also got quite the career.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
He did a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're both very talented. I mean, that's
Very.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I said, everything pretty much is like a blur at this point. But like with Maurice Fish, I like what you're saying here, Perry, about it's a little bit of Elvis.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the urban legends about Elvis faking his death combined with Misery.
Yeah.
Like, thank God they didn't bring out the 4x4 wood block.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm your number one fan, and now I'm gonna smash your leg with a sledgehammer.
Shh, darling. Trust me.
God's sake.
It's for the best.
What did he say? Like, don't come any closer. I'm gonna slash him like a biscuit, something like that. Like, something like that.
And I think Cleavant, is it Cleavant or Cleavant?
It's Cleavant. Someone corrected us. Yeah, someone corrected us.
So
He's like, you got it right. It's Cleavant. I'm like, okay.
All right, so folks, when you get in the comments, this is the point where I actually learned the proper pronunciation of his name after 30 years. I'm so sorry.
Somebody
so
from
Cleavant at this point,
Mm-hmm.
He really does look genuinely scared. They worked. I think they did a lot of the blocking for this in rehearsals to get that intensity out of those two actors.
Yeah.
And although I don't think it took long, I think they worked together really well.
Yeah. But except for that part where he's like giving him his demands about writing. I'm the writer on these songs, and it's just the laugh that comes out of his mouth. He's like,
you cannot be serious.
I think he's not just laughing at the absurdity of the demands, but also a little fearful for his safety at that point. So I think,
he might be trying to build himself up a little bit.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah. So they do find him. This is the part where like I stopped on my notes because it's like I wanted to watch this again. I just did not have the time. But I mean, I think we can pretty much. We got the gist of this all. We're pretty much skipping ahead to Rembrandt realizing, well, the double basically gives him his blessing, and he says, I got out of this, I faked my death because I had my fill, or you're still hungry for this, right?
That was
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Yeah. And
again, I think the advantage of having twin brothers who grew up together playing off each other really shines through in that scene.
Yeah. So, but this
is one of the few scenes they actually had together in this episode in the same shot.
Yeah,
or series of shots because they do a couple of medium 2 shots, a couple of back to back with coverage, and then a couple of just really close into.
Yeah,
and it just again, if you have a couple of folks who get along really well, especially if they're related, it shines through. And this episode was a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Except in this case, they're both playing the same person in different realities.
Yeah. And I have to admit, if I was given, I don't know if I would like think any differently. Like if I see a world where it's like all my dreams are about to come true, I'm like, I might be tempted to say, I want to stay. I don't want to go anymore. Like this is what he's always wanted.
Oh yeah. Especially when you are saying you can have a shot.
Right.
Yeah.
You can take over my life. I'm done.
Yeah. The Damon of that universe is saying, it's all yours, man. You can have it all.
Yeah. I mean, outside of, I would not leave my family, obviously, but like he didn't have anybody, basically. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Perry. What?
No.
Yeah. Those songs that on that set list, dear God. I mean, Tears of My Fro, which you heard at the beginning. I wish I could find that on. I can't find that on YouTube anywhere. Like a good rendition of that. It's like. I want that song on my playlist. I got tears in my fro. Love Explosion, Cry Like a Man, Explosion of Love, I'm a Tear Jerk, Head Butt Me, Weeping Wall of Tears, and Who Stole My Woman? Wow.
Yeah. Other than the Running Tears theme, there's a lot of these songs that could just be John Lee Hooker hits, actually. But yeah, just some amazing song titles.
I know.
Many of them
Captain Jock.
performed by performers who were clearly not like, they really hoped they were a lot more like Rembrandt than they actually were. I remember albino Rembrandt.
Oh, yeah.
Which another one, that was one of the few bits in that show that I think may not have aged well. But then also the intensity,
Yeah.
you know, Captain Jack coming backstage and go, is he ready yet? Because I've got these fans are going to tear me apart.
Yeah.
And also, you know, there's a lot of that, you know, me and then also you bit that he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah,
in
yeah.
particular,
Mhm.
I think that I think Tormé and the director did a very good job of making the first row of screaming fans stand in for the ones that they were never going to show us.
Yeah.
Because extras or background talent is expensive in bulk.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like to joke that sometimes they buy me by the pound. But yeah, it's, you know, so they had a good, you know, if you don't notice that they're not shooting the rest of the amphitheater, that they're in the auditorium, it's easy to think, oh, that's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's a row or two.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. I mean, because you get that big, huge, the king. And it's like, he's like, that's the famous shot, which I think that's going to be the shot of this episode, I think. But
absolutely.
Yeah. But that, and then he's like, he's pointing to like that one person in the crowd and he's singing, he's loving it. It's like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And you do get the sense that it's like this big, huge stadium thing and, or whatever. And then, man, like his double just, I'm thinking, man, what a dick you just were to just say
$1 million a song.
That whole sing off, which is great, and they're like singing off to each other. But it's like I genuinely was like feeling heartbroken for Rembrandt. You see that disappointment in his face, like he finally had his dream, and my double
100%.
stole it back from me, like.
And to be fair, I think in a lot of episodes of Sliders where they tease that one person might leave the quartet, there is that reset moment. And this is one of the clearest examples of it that I can remember.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about it, it's not in our notes, but at the same time, why does the original Rembrandt come in costume? Why was he dressed for the stage if he was really ready to give it up?
Wait, what do you from?
The real Rembrandt. No, he showed up backstage with a black hat on, and like an overcoat, and then he runs off.
Okay, so he just jumped into wardrobe.
I think he ran off, got
he
changed
just jumped
real quick,
and then
so
he did have
and
a
then
bit where he just grabbed something off a hanger that he knew would fit him.
Well,
I'm sure they have all sorts of outfits ready for whichever Rembrandt would be singing.
Right, because our Rembrandt was fully loaded, so clearly Captain Jack would have had. Now that you mention it, he would have had some spare costumes, especially.
He was probably going to go through wardrobe changes and stuff, I bet. Yeah.
And so he saw his moment and he just snatched defeat from the jaws of victory for our Rembrandt. It's like, maybe I could eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm not trying to do anyone's voice in this for obvious reasons, because that would be just extremely racist. But it just comes out. And it's just having actually literally in the middle of rekindling your dream. You've got, as you said, the king lighting behind you. Which the lighting techs in that episode did an amazing job in that one shot. It was the only thing, it was their big set piece, and they delivered. Yeah. Like you said. It does put you in the mind of Elvis. And then you had the twin, you had the twin Rembrandts coming out, the dueling Rembrandts, and the audience is just
dueling Rembrandts.
And at that point, audio effects steps up because they make that row or two of fans sound like thousands of screaming fans. And then the rug pull. It's not the squeaky fence rug pull.
Oh yeah, the squeaky fence. Yeah.
My wife refuses to watch the show to this day.
Oh really?
Because she watched it first run season 1. That was the last episode she watched. He banged that gate shut and they slid and she was done.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Arturo's trying to reassure him. Well, he says it's like, well, he did all the hard work, so he does deserve this.
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe we'll be on a world where you'll be even bigger. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe that will happen. I'll be the king on the next world. And on the next world,
Of course you will.
He's the ice cream king on the next world.
Yes.
And Quinn's like, at least we're getting free ice cream. He's like, oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Something like that.
He's doing the bright side thing because they're not trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we get a counter on how long they were on this world? I missed it, Mike. Did we?
I don't know. I thought it was 2 or 3 days, but
Yeah.
they knew the exact time was 9:03 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
on the day when the concert was, but I thought it was 2, maybe 3 days.
Yeah, I realized that as I'm going through. I'm like, I don't remember them saying. They usually do.
Yeah, it may not have been explicit, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on in the episode. It's like,
yes,
it's a little thing, but it's like we always like to keep track.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else. So I think we ran through the gamut of everything.
pretty much.
We have the most memorable lines, like the ones we all picked out here.
We can quickly
Yeah.
ramble them
Yeah,
off.
just recap.
Or rattle
Yeah.
them off, rather.
Yeah. Mhm.
So we had Arturo saying, it means you're popular here.
Yeah.
It means we can't be on our Earth.
Right.
Ow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it's funny because Remy just lets that roll off his back. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
seem to bother him.
He
at all.
does.
Yeah.
Because he's too jazzed up about
Clearly,
the
yeah.
possibility of being a star.
Yeah.
And I love that line. She forgot to mention I can cry you out of each eye individually.
I know, that was just, I know, like, it was,
And it's so much better because he delivers it like a throwaway.
I
Yes.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
I know the way he says it's so casual, and I'm not going to say it
Why
again.
would you not say that?
I know. I'm not going to say it again, but that whole Pavarotti thing is just, one
Yes.
thing I remember, I just crack. I think I'm on the floor laughing every time I hear that.
Absolutely.
That's
It's
one
just-
of the things I remember from the episode.
Yeah.
originally
And
was-
is that something that John Rhys Davies has had to deal with IRL?
Yeah, so you say that in the notes. Like, maybe, like, if people confuse him for Luciano Pavarotti, I don't know. It's I don't know. Or maybe they used to, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and here's what did you say? I can't believe you did that to me?
Yeah. We can.
Yeah.
You're under contract.
Yeah.
So you're going to be in the next episode that's going to be in another dimension.
Yeah.
There are certain obligatory things that happen at the end of an episode where the status quo has to revert to the original.
Yeah. It's the Star Trek formula,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Star
So
Trek
everything-
reset button, yeah.
Or honeymooners.
Yeah.
Because every episode
Yeah.
they're on the verge of
That's
one of
right.
those stupid get rich quick schemes paying off, and then
That's
immediately
right,
Ralph short circuits himself.
Yeah.
In Sliders, it's we got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The warhole's open. We got to go.
Yeah. What's the thing you're saying? The Gallagher 2 thing? What is this in the notes?
Oh, it so happens that during the air time of Sliders from 1995 to 2000,
Mhm.
Leo Gallagher, the person we knew as Gallagher, the comedian,
Okay, Gallagher. Okay.
had literally franchised his act out to his brother Ron. Ron was in construction, happened to bear a shocking resemblance to his older brother.
Oh.
The construction business was undergoing some difficulty due to the recession, and Gallagher was thinking, I've got way too much to do. I'm at the time he was really hyper busy. He was at the top of his career, so he's like, there are some shows that I can let you do as me. Let's do that. And so Ron Gallagher went out as Gallagher.
Wow. Okay.
And neither of them, it didn't occur to either of them that this would confuse the hell out of people. So at first they got around it by Ron only doing the smaller shows and booking himself as Gallagher 2, TOO.
TOO. Okay.
Which, is always a creative way to name a sequel. But the upshot of it was by 2000, about the time that Sliders went off air, they were in litigation against each other because Leo was unable to stop Ron from being the monster that he'd unleashed.
Wow.
And there was a genuine brand confusion problem.
Wow.
And I don't think they were able to touch it because it was too close to the news at the time. But I do think it would have been fun if they'd done a little bit more, maybe had that reveal of their Rembrandt, the real Rembrandt or that dimension's Rembrandt wanting to come back a little earlier so they could play off that. But I think it would have been too much for the episode.
Wow. That I did not know the Gallagher stuff. I figured that's who you were talking about, but like I didn't know what you meant. I didn't know anything about that.
There were two bald guys in flat caps with sledge-o-matics running around comedy stages in the late 90s, and that was one more than the world could bear.
Wow.
And then shortly after that, Gallagher started burning bridges within the industry, and one Gallagher with a sledge-o-matic was one more than the world could bear. But yeah, during this time, there were two of them because the 90s were insane.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we move on to our final thoughts and our ratings?
Yeah, sure.
Perry, as our guest, we'll let you go first.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Mike, I am stunned at how watchable this show is in general, and especially this episode for something that aired almost quite literally 30 years ago. The hotel manager's shirt clearly dates it. Will I am Sasso. I had one of those shirts, that multicolored block thing. But man, is this show easy to watch. I mean, 46 minutes just flies by both times. The co-stars clearly are vibing well, even in the first season, which is not always the case on series TV.
True.
Yep.
And you see a lot of lineup changes at the end of the first seasons on a lot of shows. The one I compared to earlier, Star Trek: The Next Generation, there were lineup changes at the end of season 1 because some people fell out with the production, and then the production got replaced and they came back.
Yeah.
In this show, we had Sabrina Lloyd for this season plus, I think, 2.5 more. Did she leave in the middle of season 4?
No, season 3. The end of season 3. Yeah.
I feel that to me, at least, as a fan of the show, at this point, it felt like she was already having to kind of fight for airtime. Because you have the leading man, Jerry O'Connell, you have the big character actor, John Rhys-Davies, and you have the extremely vibrant Clement Derricks.
Yeah.
And Sabrina Lloyd's character, I think, gets lost in the shuffle and she is not she's not at fault for that.
No.
Yeah.
You know what?
But
That
in this
plays
episode,
out
she clearly doesn't have much to do.
Yeah.
with the Abbey Road shot, where they even say the girl is an unknown, but here's
right.
Jim Morrison and
Yeah.
Luciano Pavarotti, and
They couldn't figure out who she looked like, right?
no, they could have come up with something. But
Yeah, and in the benefit of hindsight, I think Tracy Tormé might have actually played with that once they saw how that one line played with the character. Like I would have probably had the director give her a bigger react when they said that, because she didn't really. There wasn't a big emote when they unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, to be fair, she doesn't resemble anyone else.
Yeah.
You
True.
know?
Yeah.
Rembrandt looks like Rembrandt. Arturo looks like Luciano Pavarotti.
Yeah.
And Jerry O'Connell is Jim Davidson or Jim
Morrison.
Jim Morrison.
Yeah. Great band, by the way. I love Jim Morrison. Yeah.
And could they have picked anyone that Jerry O'Connell is less like in real life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, looks wise, he could probably have played a convincing Morrison.
Yeah.
But as a person, like, he is the guy who gets up at 6 a.m., goes out jogging and drinks like fruit smoothies and lemongrass and Morrison, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they do have 44 or 46 minutes to build a whole world.
Yeah.
And darn if they don't do it.
Yeah.
So what would your rating be then, Perry?
Well, using the rating system that Damon explained to me off camera, I rate this episode 9 cheesy crying man single titles out of 10 with a bonus hanky.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right, Mike, I'll let you.
Sure. I'm not sure how to summarize my final thoughts. I kind of feel like we've said it throughout, but it was a very fun episode. I think I said at the start, it's definitely probably the most humorous of the first season. And this is why I think I really enjoyed Sliders, was they kind of went between the more dramatic episodes and the more humorous episodes, similar to Quantum Leap, where they had more serious episodes and ones that were more fun. So it's a good example of why it got renewed for a second season, I believe. So I gave this episode 9 torn pieces of clothing out of 10.
Yeah, I was having trouble with thinking of my rating, but Perry gave me a good idea off camera. So but yeah, I think I said it earlier in the notes. It's just like the first half of this episode, like the first 20 minutes, I'm just laughing I'm just constantly laughing at this episode. I'm like you said, Mike, this is why I love the show, like especially the first season, because they it just felt fun. It was like compared to how the show turns out later on, it's like this is what Sliders was like when they even did stories like this, even when it wasn't like a main, like an alternate history. This is like an alternate personal history for a character. So it was like I really did love all of that. I think this is my favorite now of the whole season. So I'm not going to give it a 10 because I'm going to save those for like there's ones coming up that will be 10. So I guess I will give it 9.5 Del Rubio Sisters. Thanks, Perry. I was having a hard time with that one. I was like, it could have been tears in my fro, but I'm like, that's too obvious. So,
so Del Rubio Sisters out of 10.
Yeah. All right. So,
well, I guess as you mentioned, next up is our season 1 finale, Luck of the Draw. And we'll be joined by Dennis Freymeier for that one. Our
friend Dennis. Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. All right. We as of recording of this, we didn't have any comments either, but we're kind of recording this a little earlier than we like normally do, so there's usually some more time in between episodes. So, but we'll read them if it comes up in future episodes. So
for sure.
Yeah. So Perry, thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to tell everybody where they can contact you and social media or whatever. Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
I'm pretty much Brunsworks everywhere except my official professional Facebook page, if you can call anything on Facebook professional, is Brunsworks Acting.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on my barely used Instagram page is Brunsworks. I have a Patreon. Still working on what I'm going to put in it, but that's also Brunsworks. If you see that, you're probably going to see me.
Okay.
All right.
And
perfect.
You can see me in privately ticketed events at Maggiano's Little Italy throughout Florida, particularly Tampa, Boca Raton, Jacksonville, and Orlando, and house shows pretty much everywhere. I do improv, currently just doing workshops at TBCN. It may lead to a group, it may not. You may hear one or more of my voices very soon.
All right.
Nice.
And of course, I did an audiobook called LUCI, LUCI, Rhoades to Hell, which is available on all major Audible book. It's Audible and all major audiobook sellers by Anna Rose.
Okay.
And perversely proud of it.
As you should be. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get those links up in the description, and be sure to like and subscribe the channel and the video. Please share your opinions on the episode in the comments. We will do a roundup in future videos, even if we didn't get to them for this one. We'll put them all together in the next one. And also visit our website, fandomentanglement.com, where we have easy access to all our videos.
All right.
Next time, I'm Mike.
And I'm Damon.
And I'm hastily constructed. I'm Perry.
You gotta come back. You gotta come back, Perry. We'll get you back for something. Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's great. Just shut my brain off and watch me go.
Yeah. All right. See you next time. Okay. See you next time, guys. Bye.
Until then,
Bye.
keep sliding.
Yep. Keep sliding.